Now let's move on to my favorite season, Advance.
Okay, so I'm going to be honest. I think this era gets too much criticism when it's not deserved.
Really?
This is not the worst era of the dub at all. This may not be the best, but it's far from the worst.
I'm gonna say from what I've gleaned, it seems like it's the most for kids of a 4Kids eras.
Yeah,
in the anime. In the anime.
In terms of the Pokemon anime, it is easily it easily has 4Kids name all over it for sure.
Yeah, so you'll have the weird.
A lot of you say that like it's a bad thing, or is that they're talking?
No, I'll say some good things first. The script translation is good, actually. Most of the
translation has been fine from what I understand.
Yeah, that was not the problem. Dogasu said. The thing is that 4Kids would let Ash say the word "die" in the Hoenn dub, whereas TPCi won't let him say it in the XY dub now. Here's the clip.
Pikachu, Trico's doing everything it can to save this tree from dying. Pika. But is it too late, do you think?
Pika. There's also that even though 4Kids would censor the rice balls and sandwiches sometimes in AG, they also kept the rice balls a few times in AG. Team Rocket in A Tale with a Twist said, "Rice ball free for all." Season 6. And also when Brock said in A Core Fish Out of Water, "Rice balls are now slush balls."
Well, guys, our rice balls are now slush balls.
The edits were weird, but then again, the edits have always been weird, so.
I think I'm not 100% sure on this, but I heard like WB was under this weird thing where you can't advertise things that are like toys, and that's why the Yu-Gi-Oh backs were changed.
Oh no, that wasn't just for WB. No, that's the FCC.
Yeah, it had to tie with the FCC is where I was going. And that's from what I understand, that's why it happened. And I don't really understand it because when you look at eras like the 80s, cartoons were meant to sell toys. So it just seems like a silly thing, and I don't know why it affected Pokemon as heavily as it did.
And I feel like it's because after that there was a big controversy about whether or not that should have been done. And it was done then, but it's not really done as much now, except on stuff like what's now Discovery Family, which basically revive a toy commercial cartoons, and of course, who can forget the biggest toy commercial of all? Da, 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 da.
But okay, so when about a quarter of the Japanese music, they kept 30% in the first season, 7% the Advanced Challenge. I'm just gonna summarize all, so we don't have to waste too much time.
I understand.
And then 4Kids floor, and TPCi goes below this. It's 20%. That's their low on keeping Japanese music. They won't go below that. That's it. Now the movies, on the other hand.
Sorry. Yeah. I am still surprised that
the movies, on the other hand, and the Pikachu shorts keep all their Japanese music, so they're 100% for movie 6, 100% for Lucario movie, 100% in God Dance Pikachu shorts. So generally speaking, 4Kids did a better job with the Pikachu shorts than the movie dubs than the anime dub.
Yeah, they kept absolutely everything, including the ending theme for Make a Wish. And
the sixth movie is my personal favorite.
Yep, sixth movie was my personal, and this was actually the last movie I saw of Pokemon that I can recall at the moment. It's honestly, let's touch on that for a little bit. I don't know when you want to move on, but I feel like we should touch on that for a little bit. I personally loved that movie, and I felt like watching. You can tell me how much was actually changed. I feel like they kept a lot of from in the actual movie. There's no real lines that stood out to me as, did they actually say them in the Japanese version? Because this is coming from me of not seeing the Japanese version, but I can usually tell when lines have been changed because they usually stick out. Like especially with 4Kids, there's usually 4Kids isms and all weird puns 4Kids does, but But from what I could tell, that script was pretty darn close, and it's actually seemed pretty serious and less like for kidsy than most of the movie. Most of the show.
There's only one line I remember changed, but it's not that bad. It's when Ash is saying that he had a friend a long time ago. He remembers her every day. They just changed. They just added a Misty reference. That's the only thing. Everything else was pretty accurate.
Oh, so in the Japanese version, did he say her name?
No.
No,
he didn't in the dub either. But he didn't. He referenced her.
Oh, didn't the movie do the 2 in the 4Kids version?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what was the change?
That's the only line change. That's only it. That
Yeah, her name.
Every day, but we'll still be friends. That's double. That's the only line change I think. That was really influential.
Yeah.
And they called Will-O-Wisp Capitata. That's the only thing. Everything else is pretty much same.
Yeah, I always found that weird when I was younger, and I actually got to see a special screening of this movie because back in this was 2004, I guess. It was 2003, 2004.
I think so.
Yeah, they did a screening for a Pokemon event at the Houston Space Center, and they premiered the dub of that movie on this huge 100-foot screen.
Wow.
So it was actually a really impressive way to see that movie.
Yeah.
That was great.
It's a weird sort of limited theatrical release that I can say I kind of went to.
Oh, you're lucky. You're lucky.
Yeah, and it was a neat way to see it. And I remember, I started picking up on the Japanese music, and I didn't even know what the Japanese music was, like the title screen music or the Gekijo, whatever music you hear at the beginning. I noticed that was different, which I thought was weird because that was the one piece of music for kids was always keeping with their dubs, like in Johto. And then there was, the one piece everybody else knows, Shisekimono, which, that really surprised me because, obviously it was in English. It was half English. But I think that all caught us by surprise, and that's kind of why it leaves an impression.
Yeah, I'm going to add this. There are episodes of the anime dub in Hoenn that almost keep 50% Japanese. There is From Rags to Riches, which keeps 8 pieces, which keeps 42%.
What is the highest percentage in Hoenn then?
40 in the movies, 100%.
Yeah, for the movies, 100%? But through the series.
In the series, the highest is Zigzag Zangoose in Advanced Challenge. That keeps 9.75. I'll add this. I'm not adding in the title 10.7. Or just kept changing the Advanced Generation title card music with the OS Japanese title card music, so I didn't count that. But that one gets 46.4%.
I go back to the movies.
There's a lot of 40% that redeem it that you can watch it. There's also Which Wurmple's Witch keeps 8.65. They're times the dub music cuts in, but they're 8s and 9s. You don't see that in the GGG era. So at least Hoenn. So movie 7.
Deoxys
was good. 2 for Destiny Deoxys or something. The only thing Rock had to say, gotta catch them all.
Yeah, that's the one thing. It's the eye roller, but
fine,
generic line, but I really love the city.
I think there's worse.
I love this. I love the city in Deoxys. It was so futuristic.
Yeah.
My only complaint, and this is a complaint I wouldn't have known about until very recently, but movie 7 actually got a bit of retooling when it was released in DVD in Japan, and they actually fixed up some of the animation. And despite that version being out in Japan, for some reason, 4Kids decided to use the original theatrical version, which has a lot of weird animation errors and inconsistencies. And they never fixed that, which is kind of unfortunate, and I don't know why they did that.
So when was that version released in Japan? Because
I believe it was released before we even got to see a screening of Destiny Deoxys. So I'm not sure why they used the theatrical version. I actually got to see the improved version, and there are some nice things. Most people probably wouldn't notice, but there's some nice touch-ups here and there.
Right.
And I'm thinking this is if it's this is when actually what I'm trying to get at. But I'm thinking it's probably just an issue of 4Kids was already working on the film and stub, and then they probably just realized there's an improved version.
That is possible. Like, they could have been working on the dub that early. Because those releases tend to be in December in Japan.
You need them. Bottoms up.
Well, team, here's to cornering the market on baby Pokemon and finding an underground spring in the basement of our base to boot.
I'll drink to that.
And also in AG, 4Kids would let Jessie's soul come out of her body in the episode Absolute Disaster in season 8.
What happened? What could have possibly caused that? What happened? What could have possibly caused that?
TPCi censored that in the Sun and Moon dub. So yeah, 4Kids was more okay with letting souls come out of bodies than TPCi, even in season 8 in Hoenn.
But they physically changed a rice ball into a sandwich.
Yeah,
that was the cringy moment. But no, let's get that out of the way.
You couldn't tell if that sandwich was originally a rice ball.
My favorite part of this discussion is that this sandwich rice ball thing is what's setting us off. Of all the
Can I say what my favorite? Can I say what my favorite my favorite food censor is? When Team Rocket had to share one rice ball, they changed it to a measly graham cracker.
Oh my!
That's even less of a portion to eat than a
sandwich. Makes me more sad.
Past the sandwich edit in EG-132 in season 8, 4Kids kept the rice balls intact and had Brock say food ready, and the rice balls are there, no sandwich edits. That was good. This is after the sandwich edit. In season 8, they kept the rice balls.
Food's ready, everyone!
Yay! That's one bad thing about going home. We won't get any more of your cooking, Brock.
Not that Mom's cooking is bad or anything, but maybe we could bring her some of Brock's recipes?
You're gonna say hi to Norman for me when you get home, right?
Season 8, Advanced Battle was the final 4Kids dub intro that was a minute long, which is good.
All right.
I have to say that was probably one of their best intros to go out on. That is absolutely one of my favorites.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then movie.
Voice acting.
Okay, this was actually a good thing. A lot of good things.
Veronica Taylor said that this was also one of her favorite movies. She loves the costumes that the characters dress up in.
Yeah, so Lucario and Mr. Mew.
Yeah.
Ikki's 54 pieces of Japanese music. 54 out of 54.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 54. That's how many there were.
Yeah, there's even a instrumental of Mizase Pokemon Master in there.
I'm surprised 4Kids kept that.
Yeah, I know. I didn't realize it until years later, but I was like, oh my gosh, that's Mizase Pokemon Master. And they kept it.
It was cool they kept it. I personally feel like they probably should have changed it to instrumental of an iconic Pokemon theme just for grab that in for the rest of the English viewing public. But I'm glad they kept that as well.
Well, normally I would agree with you, but when we talk about Sun and Moon area, when we get to movie 20, I will discuss my thoughts on that song being an instrumental. But
I didn't say like dude, just do like a remix. Just get off the old instrumental tapes, put it in there. Maybe have Jason Page's vocals bleeding in on the guitar track if you can't get them all isolated. I don't care. Just keep the original ones. I suspect that's something of it in Japanese. So what I remember of that definitely sounded like virtually identical to how it was in the Japanese version originally with Pokemon.
Okay. So the script was fine. Okay. Voice acting, everyone was fine except there's one character everyone's complained about it.
Lucario?
No. That Lucario had a good voice. Nobody.
Don Schemmel is
great.
Did an awesome job as a Lucario. This is actually an interesting comment about
opinion.
Okay, on what?
James' voice in the Hoenn with the higher pitched James.
It's good actually. People say it's the worst, but I find it funny.
Yeah, I think it's okay. It could be worse. It's a little goofy, but
Definitely better than JCC's.
Eric Stewart was so good in Hoenn because he showed so much more range there. Even though his voice got a little goofier and deeper, the character himself was getting goofier. He showed little to no depth compared to how he was in the original series. So in that regard, Darren Dunstan did a good job directing him accordingly.
I could still take Eric Stewart's James and Hoenn seriously, because his voice wasn't so goofy that it completely undermined serious scenes, unlike James Carter Cathcart. He still acted with the proper emotion. I still felt sad when he was sad. I still felt angry when he was, and so on. Not to say that Eric Stewart was bad before. I'm just saying he was better in Hoenn.
I'm gonna have to agree with DeterioratedJames that, Hoenn James sounds way better than James Carter Cathcart James. It's a little goofy, sure, but at least he sounds 25, it's age appropriate, he can be serious sometimes, and he's very good at the comedic side. Whereas JCC James in Diamond and Pearl was goofy and nasally, JCC James in XY was goofy and nasally and sounded like an old man, and JCC James in Sun and Moon is the worst, Dub James ever. He sounds nasally, goofy, and old man, and he confuses James with Meowth voice, like he said, and he confuses James with Professor Oak voice and acting through the form. This is dreadful. Sun and Moon, Dub James is the worst.
Do actually have a couple weird sort of nitpicks with movie 8 in terms of its dub. I think it's a really good dub overall, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I have an attachment to it, and that's probably because it was the last 4Kids dub there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
yeah, whenever I have sorry to interrupt. Whenever I have a marathon of Pokemon, I always watch the movie, the eighth movie, as the last episode ever. You know what I mean?
I don't think that's a good one. But one thing is, I think, like, the dialogue wasn't entirely altered, but I feel like the nuance of Lucario's dialogue is a bit on the edgy side, a bit.
I'll agree. Yeah.
So I have that, and they do this a bit with Ash too, but I don't think it's quite as bad. There's also the change with Ash's dialogue when he gets sucked up by the antibody. The whole Pikachu, take care of yourself, I'll miss you, I love you. That was a 4Kids thing, and I'm not sure if that was sort of improvising on Veronica, since that was pretty much her last Ash role, or if something the dub writers did, but it's a change I'm very conflicted on, because on one hand, I think it does work in the context, but on the other hand, I can kind of feel it was one of those dub changes they made because there was some things in the background.
Right.
And he was getting sucked in. He had little time to speak, so he had to hurry up,
Yeah.
But they did keep in the silence. I'll give them credit for otherwise, like in terms of music running.
There is one bit where they don't keep silence, and that's the very end.
That's the bit, but otherwise besides that scene.
Yeah, because I feel like had they kept the silence there, that would have solidified it as pretty much perfect. Because when I sat down and watched the Japanese version again, I felt I could just feel the impact of that silence rather than just having Ash, dabble, Lucario isn't really gone.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments where the silence was definitely more powerful, but they didn't do it.
Yeah.
But, other than those little nitpicks, the dub is fine, and I do enjoy it.
Yeah, I'll agree. But the good thing about the movies was that there are a few scenes like that, but 4Kids would actually keep silence and not have non-stop blaring music in the background.
Yeah, they did work on that more. Thank God.
Okay, so we're done with the 4Kids stuff.
We are now. Oh.
And here's where everything nosedives.
Actually, wait. To be fair, since I know we're gonna nitpick the TPCi dub, how about we nitpick at 4Kids' worst season of Pokemon?
That would be. Are we talking about music replacement or in general?
Just in general.
That's hard to say. There are different weaknesses and strengths in each area. I would say Chronicles is
probably
Legend of Thunder. We can bash that.
Oh, Chronicles.
Chronicles is so weird for me because when I heard we were getting all these side episodes we never got, I was excited. And then the way Legend of Thunder was chopped up, that was weird. I actually hadn't played Pokemon Crystal, so I didn't really understand the Eugene problem. But once I did, I was like, how did they make that mistake?
That's embarrassing. Yeah.
And it's really kind of a shame because The Legend of Thunder is a really good special short, but 4Kids chopped it up and did all sorts of weird things with it.
There's a theory that the One Piece team worked on it.
Oh, that would explain it.
We saw Entei, we saw Suicune. I've never seen Raikou, so I only like Chronicles for that reason.
Well, there's also
you're probably better off missing it.
4Kids started the whole Raikou pronunciation, which admittedly that's what I thought it was too, but it's not. And then, but I think TPCi is also guilty of Raikou mispronunciations, and yet.
The only good thing I can say about the last episode, Winter Games, and they kept all the Japanese into that, but everything else is just 1, 2, 3.5. It's otherwise.
Yeah, it's really poor, and it's a shame because there's some really interesting episodes in there, and then they just kind of made a mess of it. Really.
Yeah, it would have. I think the One Piece team should not have been on.
No, definitely not.
And I'll say this here. Actually, Johnny, you're always trying to justify some of the changes that 4Kids make. Well, this is actually a change they did that was actually good and actually solved something. I believe, can't remember which one actually. I don't know if it's actually in the episode in general or if it's episode like way back. But remember when they went in on the anime in both Japan and English, it was Saint Anne.
Yes, I remember that. Yes, the shipwreck is my favorite episode. Yes,
and later, I can't remember exactly now, but I think in Chronicles we're going on the SS Anne, but I think that was changed in English to SS Anne because in Japanese that was a big pothole that actually 4Kids solved. If I remember correctly.
Welcome back to 4Fans Podcast, part 2 of our discussion on the Pokemon dub. Again, returning with us is Jolteon Jordan. Welcome
Hello,
back.
I'm back to haunt you all.
That's fine. And here with us this time is Oshawott 501. How you doing?
Good.
All right, that's good. Good.
That's real good.
Yeah. Here with us is Johnny Loving It. Johnny,
I will steal your soul. Just kidding. Yes, I'm here. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Good.
We also got Antoine Kudo. Antoine, introduce yourself.
Hello, what's good? What's really good? What's going on? It's Antoine Kudo.
Good.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. We also got Anthony. Anthony, how you doing?
Hey, everybody. What's up?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Doing all right.
Good. Really, really good.
Long time no see.
Good. Up next is Watcher 76.
What's up?
What's up?
And last but not least, we got Gokai Blue. How you doing?
Hi ho.
Hi ho. Okay.
Hi ho.
Okay. Oh, hi ho, like Seven Dwarfs.
It's off to work we go.
Like Kermit. Come on, guys. Hi ho. Kermit the Frog here.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the dwarves too.
It's a long time.
Frog here.
He hasn't said that in years, so.
Yeah.
Waka.
Oh,
I like Grover. I like Grover.
I like the two guys, the heckler thing. They're funny.
Yeah. All right, so.
All right, so we're gonna get into the discussion.
So last time we left you off with the. Sorry, 4Fans. Is it okay to continue?
That's all right.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So last time we left off with we essentially discussed 4Kids stuff, Pokemon. Now that we basically reviewed all that, time to get to the okay. Let's clarify what this is first, because this dub is called the current dub. Pokemon is called the TPCi dub. It actually was dubbed by two different companies during two different times. So, first of all, back before TPCi was Pokemon, was before Pokemon Company International. It was actually called Pokemon USA. What happens is that company will merge with Pokemon UK and become TPCi in the year 2008. So, and originally what will happen is 4Kids will lose the rights to Pokemon because they, for whatever reason, let it go or had it taken from them. I don't know what happened exactly. I'm not going to get into that. But the studio that outbid them for a cheaper rate to dub the show was Taj Productions. And they had worked with 4Kids on dubbing the first 5 seasons and 20 episodes of season 6.
Taj, you mean TAJ, right?
Yeah, TAJ Productions. Okay. So this dub that lasts from season 9 to 10 is called the TAJ dub, Taj dub, whatever you want to call it, Pusa dub.
Pusa.
And it only consists of Battle Frontier, Diamond and Pearl's first season, and the 9th movie, the Ranger movie. That's all they dub. And then the TPCi dub is with Duarte, who, again, what there's theories about this. I'll just get this background about the ring before we start first. That's what I'm saying. So TPCi Todd will be drawn from the project after 2008, after the first season of DP's Dub. And there are theories about this. Some people say they initially increased the budget, so that's why it went there. And some people say they cut it for even cheaper rate. So, don't know exactly which one it is, but as a result, they started getting some of the 4Kids voice actors back in minor roles.
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't know what exactly happened, but it could have been up, it could have been down. We don't know, but that's basically. So the Taj dub is with Pusa, and then the Duarte dub TPCi. And the whole thing is called the TPCi because it has the debut of the current voice cast, and etc. So that's the background information for this dub. All right.
Connor, what were you going to say?
Now go ahead.
To a theory about why the team switched production on the TAG actually went out of business, if I remember correctly.
I think you're right. Yeah, Larry Juris said something. The guy who was in charge of that. I read about it on the forums. Yeah, that sounds right. Okay, so now that dub has lasted from season 11 to 20. We're at 21 now, right? And movies
21.
In movies 11 to present. 20 was the last one, but they're gonna dub 21, etc.
Oh boy.
Okay, so now let's get started with the first thing they ever dubbed.
Battle Frontier.
Mirage Pokemon.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna talk about the TV version and then the DVD version, right?
Right. Which is the TV version is the original. The DVD version is the redub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, let's get started with the. Who else saw the original dub? Actually saw it on Quiz WB.
I did.
I did. Okay, we all. All right.
It sounds like most of us did.
I didn't. No,
So,
that would be affiliate for me.
Do you guys want me to give you my first impressions of what I heard, or you want to start? Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, Watcher. Go ahead.
Right ahead.
Okay, so I'm watching Kids WB. I'm turning on Pokemon, right? I just start seeing Ash is in some forest, right? He's wearing his outfit. The first thing I hear is this nasally voice from Ash, and I'm just speechless. Like, that can't be Ash. What did they do to him? And then, then I hear May, and she sounds like this voluptuous swimsuit model. I'm seriously speechless. And then I hear Max, and he's even. How do you make Max more nasally and nerdy than he's supposed to be? Then I hear Brock, and oh my god, what were they thinking? And then, Brock's voice's gravity is like sand, so deep. What were they thinking?
And how was Misty's voice?
Actually, at first,
and then Professor Oak.
She was decent at imitating. That was the only decent voice at first in the original dub, not the TV dub. And it wasn't as good as.
Then what about Professor Oak?
Oh God!
It's
Mad
bad, but
Scientist is how I've seen it be described, and yeah, that's what it sounds. It sounds like Dr. Namba from Johto. That's what he sounds like half the time. That's what I think. And
Team Rocket.
You can even say they represent nature, and you cannot do anything. I'm just shut up, please. When I heard that, no offense, that's what. And
Team Rocket.
Team Rocket. Oh, James. Oh, the first time I heard his voice, I'm just like, how is this more goofy and more nasally than Hoenn James is? I was just.
That's true.
With the mirage, he sounds like Barney too half the time. Like, what were they thinking? And then,
like a sleepy rich kid.
Yes, yeah, and Jessie is okay, but it's a little higher pitch than she already was getting. And then Meowth is, I want to say pirate-like is what I read. People say.
Good one.
So that's just my opinion on the voice acting. This is not facts. It's just my opinion for anyone who's watching this. But and then the script was the other big thing, and the intro. But the script is weird. But even for 4Kids and TPCi, it's a weird script, and not just like Ash has knocked his block off. What? And then he says like, "I'm gonna get me this." I was just like, "That's not Ash." Like he's speaking like a caveman sometimes now. I'm just like, "What the?" And then I'm trying to think what I've got amazing training skills. Really? And then Team Rocket. Oh my mega meal ticket. What? There's this weird dialogue rewrites, and then the other thing that stood out to me was, besides that, the voice acting in the script, was the intro. And I forget which one was the read up and which one was the TV, because honestly I thought both were bad, but the one that was on the TV was even worse. It was like, yo, Pokemon Master, your heart beats faster, first you get in Kanto, some really bad rap or something. I forgot what it was called.
It's called Pokemon Go.
Got it.
And they actually used it for the credits in Battle Frontier.
No relation to the game.
Right. Yeah, I was just speechless at that. So the first time I saw it, I was just like, a lot of people were just like, this is like the worst at the time. Yeah. This is the worst episode like ever. Those people were saying that. And I was trying to think what else was it. Yeah, that sums up that was my first thought, seeing the TV dub on Kids WB, and I was just like, this is the worst. The only good thing they did, besides Misty's voice was decent at first, and even though it wasn't as good as Rachel, this was okay at first, but besides that, they kept the Japanese music for it and left some silent scenes in, but with the voice acting and the script and the intro being like that, it just did not make up for the flaws for the original TV dub of Mastermind. So that's my 2 cents on it. You guys can go ahead and say what you think.
We can hear Jolteon go next.
Yeah. Okay. So imagine a 11-year-old JJ who absolutely loves Pokemon, and it's the 10th anniversary that has been hyped up on the official website, and I hear, oh my gosh, they're making a 10th anniversary TV special? I gotta see that. Turns out that weekend, my sister had a basketball tournament. So I was like, no, Mom and Dad, you don't understand. There's a Pokemon special for 10 years. I have to see it. And I am swearing up and down to my parents that this is something I have to see or I may fall over and die. So eventually I make the arrangements to stay at my cousin's house for that weekend because he had Kids WB on his channels and such, and he could tolerate Pokemon. He was kind of in that phase where it was like, Pokemon's not cool anymore, it's dumb or whatever. So here I am thinking, okay, well, this is gonna blow his mind because there's a 10th anniversary special of Pokemon and it's awesome. What could possibly go wrong? And then it starts. And then Ash opens his mouth and sounds like Richie with a cold and way overexcited and sounding like he's been written to sound really hip.
Oh no!
And my heart shatters into pieces within 10 seconds. And I'm just like, okay, there's something wrong with the TV. This can't be right. I can't actually be hearing this. May speaks. She has a weirdly deep voice. Brock sounds very growly and deep. Max is somehow more annoying than ever before. And I was one of the few people who wasn't that annoyed by him. Professor Oak, as some of you guys said, kind of sounded like Namba. Dr. Young even was kind of weird. Misty was the only one who sounded somewhat like her usual voice, but even then I could tell that's not the same person who voices Misty. There's somebody else. They're just trying to sound like Misty. And here I am, and first of all, I'm already embarrassed that the voice cast sounds absolutely terrible, even by a child's standards. And with my cousin sitting right next to me, bored as all heck, and I'm just trying to swallow and take it, and 5 minutes in, Pokemon Go starts playing, and I am already ready to just go under the covers and die of embarrassment watching this awesome show just sink into the cheesiness that everyone had criticized it for years. So I bear it for the hour, thinking maybe I'll get used to it, but no, that doesn't happen. It just continues to get worse, and everyone else continues to sound worse. And the script was just silly to stupid at times, because then you have Jesse saying things like, oh, Rattata instead of rats, which is kind of like, it's kind of like a thing you read in some Pokemon fan fiction, and I usually don't like using fan fiction as a way of leverage to criticize something, but that's really something you don't see in Pokemon much, but it's what you see here. You've never heard it in the Pokemon dub before? Well, now you have, because everything has drastically changed. Everything sounds weird. The pacing of the special itself was weird. It was hard to just sit through and enjoy it all. The animation was kind of wonky, even by usual standards, because from what I understand, they outsourced this episode specifically for US audiences. It aired in Japan later that year, I think. But I don't, only so much can save this short. I mean, the initial dub, for sure, is the TV dub is the worst way to watch this. But my gosh, I went in there with expectations up in the mountains, and I found myself falling in a canyon by the end.
That's pretty much how to sum it up. The voice.
Anyone else want to talk? Go ahead, sorry. Yeah.
Want me to go next?
Yeah, sure.
All right, then. I did not expect the change, and it was just a sudden change that threw me off. And, I researched that the voice of Ash was Casey Rogers before Sarah Natochenny.
Yes.
Correct.
But that was I compared the two. Casey Rogers was way worse than how Sarah sounded, but Sarah just didn't sound any better than how I expected her to be. But about my experience when I watched it, it was dreadful. But this was before I started to understand the differences between the Japanese version and the US version. All I really cared was how terrible the voices sound. It doesn't sound anything like like Veronica's Ash or Eric's or Rachel's, So I did not enjoy my experience with Pokemon at all. And so I looked online and I wanted to see what the feedback was, and I was hoping that I wasn't the only one who felt negative toward the new voices. And sure enough, I wasn't, because I found the campaign group SOVA, Save Our Voice Actors, who cared about what the sudden change was about. So it was nice that I wasn't alone in this. So I stayed with the campaign group, but at the same time, I tried to give it a chance with the new voices. So I lasted until the first season of Diamond and Pearl. How I try to watch the show, it's very different from everybody. See, when I try to watch it, first I need the old voices' character's voice in my head. So when I watch the new episodes, I try to mute it so I can try and read the subtitles with Veronica's Ash's voice in my head while trying to, see what's going on. But
oh man,
yeah, so it wasn't really working for me. I was trying to create my own way of watching the show. But I realized this isn't how I want to watch the show anymore. So who was I kidding myself? This is not working for me. I was not going to enjoy it. It was ruining my experience, so I stopped. I don't like the new voices at all. The only thing I liked though was the narrator came back, Ken Gates, and the voice of Giovanni and Tracy State. Yeah,
Raider coming back.
And
yeah,
Ted
I'll agree
Lewis
with
State.
that. You mean Roger Parsons? Yeah.
No,
he did it one
didn't
episode.
come back,
He did in one
actually.
episode.
No, he-
But I'm saying Ted Lewis was the voice of Giovanni, so he's only those two people.
No, but he didn't actually come back till Duar took over.
in season 11 is when he came back.
Yeah, just to clarify. So he wasn't back until then.
Then only the narrator is who I remember that I like.
Yeah, that's the only one. That's the only voice that they. I want to say what happened was, not to interrupt, but just to clarify, what happened was when Forkage took the show back in house after the 20th episode of Advanced, after Brave the Wave, I think they took it in house, and I guess that's why Mike Pollock took over as the narrator temporarily. And then when Taj took back over, I guess they asked Roger Parsons, "Do you want to come back as narrator?" And he said, "Yeah." And then he came back. So that's the really only good thing that happened. But when everything else was changed for the worse, it just was not worth the sacrifice.
Yeah, and this is just my personal opinion because the other narrator was Mike Pollock. He was all right.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
personally,
Not the
I like.
best, but okay. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I personally prefer Ken Gates since season 1. So
yeah.
So aside from the voicing, the performance was lacking. It's like these voice actors don't sound like they are really voice actors. So I didn't notice how the script changed too, but just their delivery of the voices was not good enough to win me over. So I gave up. I stopped watching the show.
It's funny, Johnny, you mentioned about checking online to see, if there was any other negative reception. Because the moment that short was over, I was like, I can't be the only one here thinking, that was terrible or something was off. And sure enough, there were plenty of other people, complaining and saying the same thing. And, I'm glad I wasn't alone in that. But
yeah. So
it definitely caught some people off guard, and they were not happy.
So when the company learned about the criticisms of the Master Mirage episode, they redid it. Yeah.
Yep, and this is the not to interrupt. Sorry, I'm just trying to clarify. This is the copy that gets on the DVDs, like Antoine said, and they air this on Cartoon Network. And I'm trying to think what else to say. Yeah, that's about it for the read up goes on the DVD with the Lucario movie, which only makes the change stand out even to me anyway. It make it even more obvious that there was the quality of the voice acting.
Yeah.
So does anyone else want to talk about the original dub or want to talk about the?
I will talk about the redub because that's what I just recently saw. And that's who I honestly have most experience with cast-wise. So I just watched a little bit of it recently, and oh my god, all the feelings for me it was like multiplied. But however, it is at least tolerable compared to what comes up next. And Sarah Nancheni, I'm gonna tell you this. I watched 20 minutes of it. I couldn't take it anymore. Because Sarah Nancheni's Ash, it was so early in her career at the time, and it was so raspy.
I can hear now. Go ahead.
It was so raspy and just so wooden. And to be fair, this is probably her first voice acting role ever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
same with the rest of the cast, so I can give them I mean, obviously, it shouldn't have happened in the first place, but
yeah,
it's their first outing, so I'll be a little, lighter on them there. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm a James Carter Caffar gave like a weird delivery of Professor Oak. I can't remember the exact line, but I think it was like Max, are you all right? Something like that. That was the delivery. That was very awkward. And you guys mentioned about Pokemon Go rap. I don't know what the heck you guys saw, but I saw this one weird Pokemon gotta catch 'em all. Like, only thing I can think of it as is
that's the redub song.
Is a jingle. Yeah. So that was just really weird. It's like a radio jingle for Pokemon almost. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, no. It was I think that one is something you said. I'm on a quest now or something. It was still like it was barely any better than the Pokemon Go thing. Like when
I honestly couldn't tell the difference.
I know I really struggled on that.
Pokemon Go was probably I've listened to that a little bit, but Pokemon Go was better than the weird jingle thing. At least you gotta understand what the heck we're saying.
It's like I kind of want to disagree because maybe Pokemon Go created some form of PTSD for me or something because every time I hear it, I can feel my ears bleeding and I am ready to just fall over and I want to mute the TV as fast as possible.
I said, I say this, I grew up with Pokemon, but at the same time, I didn't. Because I didn't keep up with it as much on Kids W because I didn't have a WB affiliate.
So Jolteon, question. Sorry, go finish up.
So I guess I didn't have that big of an attachment at the time when I first heard of the change. Mm-hmm. I was like, huh. But now, looking back, it's like, oh, God. They really thought they could get away with this. And I think this is actually the first time I've actually watched that much of the Master Mirage Pokemon. We'll get to my real introduction to the new voices later once we get into the series proper. But I'll say this, my final words about Master Mirage Pokemon. It's just, the dub, I feel like it was either rushed or just trying hard and they're missing the mark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they missed their mark.
All enough, some of these performances will be their best voice-wise performances for some characters.
Yeah, unfortunately, but we'll get to that. But something
Jolteon,
I wanted to. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to ask Jolteon when you wanted to watch the show, but you were supposed to go to your cousin's basketball game or whatever.
It was my older sister's, but I went to my cousin's house to go watch this wretched thing.
Yeah, so you probably feel like you regret it, so you probably would have been better off going to the game instead.
I absolutely would have, because at least I could have taken a portable DVD player to watch any of the better movies.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good point.
I'm so sorry that experience wasn't what you expected.
Oh, it was not. It was not.
Does anyone else have any thoughts on it, or because I have some stuff to add on the script if you guys.
Well, we need to hear from Option Watt and Antoine.
I was gonna add something.
Go ahead.
So when I watched it that morning on Kids WB, I knew going in that the voices were going to be different because I was active on Cerebi at that time, so I already knew about it.
So you had different impressions.
What I didn't know was how bad it was going to be. I mean, the first few seconds before anyone starts talking, it was nice hearing that nice instrumental version of Advanced Adventure. Yeah, the Jirachi movie.
I know.
And then Ash opens his mouth, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds nothing like Veronica. But I recognized that it was Casey.
Wow.
And May sounded like a noble whore.
Let's tone it down there. Jeez.
With that sultry voice.
It really did.
And then Brock and Misty and Max didn't really bother me all that much.
Mm-hmm.
And then that stupid opening. Oh God, I think that's probably one of the worst Pokemon openings I've heard.
Absolutely agree. My God.
Agree there. Yeah.
And then Team Rocket were just. Jessie was fine. I didn't mind Jessie. She at least somewhat sounded like Rachel. James and Meowth were god awful though. Oak was god awful.
I think we can all agree Oak was god awful because his lines were very stilted and very stale delivery. It was just horrible.
He sounds like Mr. Fred from the Rugrats.
Any JCC role.
Dr. Young didn't sound that bad to me. But then again, he was a new character, and I knew he was just for the one special, and we'd never see him again, so his voice didn't bother me.
Gotcha.
He turned out to be Conway.
First did bother me on the voice-wise. The new character was, I can't remember his name now, but the villain of the whole special, Mirage, something like
Mirage Master or whatever.
Mirage Master. He's, I don't know, he sound like, you know those like video game reviews, whatever, where they usually have a villain? He sounded like that stock villain voice they all use.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
They get like a filter.
So generic.
They put like some kind of, oh, I'm very deep, boy, like something like that. It was like a filter. Like,
I'm evil.
Typical evil.
So Antoine, why don't you tell us your experience when you watched this special?
I will close with this. The only good things about the special was that it kept the Japanese soundtrack. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, same thing. That's what I'll. That's. I mean, I can't disagree. Yeah, that's it.
I would say the only two good things were kept Japanese soundtrack and Barrage Parsons.
Yeah, you're right about that. So anyone else want to chime in or?
Antoine.
I'll say. I want to say something. Well, my experience wasn't the same as everybody's. So I pretty much, when I first heard of TPCi's new voice cast, it was through Battle Frontier. But I think it was around like the beginning. I think this is when the Lucario movie was on DVD already. And, I had some friends that, also watched Pokemon. And, those old days when you used to go to Blockbuster and you would just rent a movie and you feel like, just renting a fun movie.
Just see what happens.
Saw the whole movie. Amazing. And then sometimes I would like to go to the special features thing. My friend wasn't really that big with that. Then we saw the Mastermind Mirage thing. So I thought, okay, let's watch this.
Sorry.
And it's just, after watching
version.
it, I think it was, and it was pretty bad to me. Really bad. And then I think like probably 2012 is when I realized there was a first version of that with Casey Rogers, and then I went to watch that. And I think thinking of it back over from when I saw on the Lucario DVD, I give TPCi a lot of crap for the things they've done, and I could say that they tried with the first dub with Casey Rogers Ash. Obviously, she had like not any close tempo with Veronica's Ash, and it's just weird because like I can hear like that Casey voice with Richie, and that it sounds almost the same as Max, which also made me feel weird. And May's seductive voice is just like, what happened? What happened? And Bill Rogers Brock, though he did kind of, it's not perfect, but I can see he's trying to mimic Eric Stewart, and it's like, it's not working, man. It's not working. Mm-hmm. And as for like Professor Oak, I will say this, even though I do give JCC a lot of crap, I would say it's more decent here than how it turned out to be through all the later seasons.
I'll agree.
At least he's nowhere near as close to like Stuart Zagnet's very like welcoming and very like fun Professor Oak as we know and love. But I guess it's something that I can accept. I guess the one thing that's kind of weird to me is just they did change Ash's voice to Serenade Cheney's, but they just kind of like untouched all the other characters. Like, oh, they're fine. Like let them be. And I don't know, it's just there could have been more. I mean, maybe they could have taken in like other fans like perceptions of like how
at least he sounded
the voices turned out.
Even though it was wrong, it's like
and maybe they could have done something about it. But overall, like it's not the most perfect like special. Even the story's a bit whack, but I mean, I guess this is like TPCi's first try at dubbing, and this is kind of like we're supposed to expect like maybe this is a good start of something bigger, but of course that just leads to more disappointment.
I will say this: it is a better start than Season 3 Dragon Ball Z.
I agree to it. Yeah,
that I'll agree with. Yeah,
because at least we can argue how well they act, but at least they can act.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is that.
At the time, those voice actors that Funimation were hiring, they couldn't act. They improved over the nearly 20 years they've been on the series. So we'll get to that when we get to it with this cast, however.
Yeah, they'll take an opposite path, is what I have to say. But anyway, yeah.
I mean, it's been 12
years. I believe Anthony is next.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anthony, tell us your experience.
Oh god. Here we go. When I first viewed Merge Pokemon Special, I thought, okay, this is just another Pokemon Special after Mewtwo returns. Which was, in my opinion, better than this special was. Okay, voice acting, just not me. I mean, sure, I'll give them a lot of crap. But listen, Casey, when I first heard the sound of Ash's voice, I was like, oh god, that is not Veronica. That is positively not Veronica. Veronica did not sound nasally. She did not sound high-pitched. She didn't sound any of the sort. She didn't even sound like Wobbuffet for all I care. I'm not even kidding. This is my first time listening to the dub. I'm like, oh my god, what is up with Ash's voice? Why does she sound like a nasally old woman with a cold?
Yeah.
You legit. I mean,
you guys agree with me, right?
Yeah. Go ahead. Anything else, or you're good?
I have more. I am not done.
Go ahead.
Okay. James from Team Rocket sounds nothing like Eric. Nothing like Eric at all. People say, oh god, he's doing an Eric Stewart impression. JCC is just sounding like Eric right now. No, he's not. He has a cold and it's really stuffy and forced. Jesse, I let Jesse slide. Jesse's voice sounded a little bit like Rachel's, but it was kind of okay. It was high-pitched, but it was fine. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Misty sounded a lot like Rachel from Hoenn, but higher-pitched. Brock sounded more deeper and kind of stilted than Eric. Eric was more funnier than Bill was. Wait, who did it first? Who did him first?
Yeah, Eric did it first. Eric, then Bill.
No, it was Ted Lewis.
James Ted Lewis.
No, I'm not talking about.
I'm
talking about
Brock.
Brock.
Oh, Brock. Yeah, Eric. Yeah, Eric.
It was Eric. Yeah, it was Eric.
Wait a minute. Didn't Brock have a different voice in the first dub of the Mirage special than the TV dub?
No.
Okay, yeah. Brock was okay at first. May, oh god. May sounds like Michelle's Jessie, but with a higher pitched Valley Girl voice. And it's
Valley Girl.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
They said that on the forums too, actually.
She basically sounds like Jessie in 20 years. That's how I feel about she sounded like Jessie in 20 years.
Yeah, it's too old.
What about Meowth?
Oh god, Meowth. Meowth sounds like a pirate Dr. Namba.
Dr. Namba. Yes. You know what? I see the resemblance. I see the resemblance.
Meowth sounds like a nasally. Meowth sounds like a congested, awkward pirate who lost a peg off a cliff. And nothing like Maddie was in late Hoenn and all of Hoenn and before that. Y'all know the rest.
Maddie could be a better pirate.
Maddie was awesome.
Oh,
yeah. She actually did voice that pirate in the first movie. So, that one guy, I forget the one who battled Ash.
Yeah, the guy that they compared to Archie.
I can't even stand James's voice now compared to the previous dubs. Honestly, Eric was better at him at best. JCC.
I agree.
JCC,
I think a lot of them were better. We'll get to that when we get back.
Okay. I can handle Rachel going a little bit high pitched in Hoenn. I can handle Eric Stewart going deeper and suavier and funnier, but I cannot handle these replacements. I'm gonna be really honest.
Same.
The Japanese music was kept, and I enjoyed that. That's the only thing I liked.
Yeah.
Same.
That's all I gotta say. I mean, that's all I have to say about the dub.
4 fans. Anything to add or?
Yeah, you're the last one. Tell us your experience.
My experience, it wasn't really as special as your guys's because I was just doing homework and I caught it on TV. Like, oh, this will be good background noise, and I can check it out. And then it's like, oh, that doesn't sound anything. This is not good background noise. But yeah, it's basically my thought. I didn't even pay attention to the movie first time I watched it because it was just wow, the script and everything about it. It's crazy. But I will say, Watcher, this isn't exactly the first time Kaylee Rogers has voiced Ash.
You're right. Yeah, in the McDonald's commercial. I know what you're talking about, right?
It was a Burger King.
What?
Yeah.
Burger King, Burger King. You're right, Burger King. Right. Thanks.
She did
that before.
Yeah, maybe we can use the door or something. I forgot what it was. Something like that.
It was a Burger King commercial for Pokemon the movie 2000 toys. And all that. They bust through a roof, and then Ash is like, "Oh, maybe we should have used the front door."
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I thank God that I actually, it's a theory of mine. Maybe they chose Casey because 4 kids chose her for that commercial, and they thought, "Oh, that'd be a good impression of Veronica Taylor." Was that what they were thinking?
They
really don't
remember the commercial. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's what they were thinking or that didn't work. Obviously,
they really don't understand the value of Veronica's voice of Ash because not everyone can be Ash.
Veronica will always be the best Ash, like no one ever was. Pretty much.
Of course,
definitely.
Just want to make a reference to the theme song. She will always be the best Ash, like no one ever was.
Like no one ever was.
Does anyone else have anything to add, or?
Yeah, and Sarah Nachnini's Ash now sounds bad compared to the Mirage special in the past. I couldn't hear.
I can agree.
Hear her voice in XY and in Sun and Moon.
Oh, I agree. I mean, to be fair, it's like the whole cast is gone. I mean, we'll get to that, but when GGB comes up, but
let's go to Battle Frontier.
Well, I actually wanted to comment on the redub because I mostly spoke from my experience first watching it.
Sure.
And I actually did not watch the redub for years because just watching it once was so bad. I was like, I never want to look at it again. And I think it was actually New Year's last year. My friend eventually convinced me, we're already marathoning all the Pokemon movies, so we're gonna watch this. And I gave into it, desperately wanting alcohol the whole time. But I go into it, and really, it's not that much different from what I remember, other than, Sarah now voicing Ash. And her problem was she really could not emote. A lot of her lines were really flat. Yep. She was just... and then, the script didn't help matters either for that part. And, she was basically the worst part of going to the redub. Because, for the most part, the rest of it isn't really changed that much. And I know a lot of us have been praising the Japanese music, and I do love the soundtrack, but my problem with Mastermind Mirage Pokemon is a lot of the music felt like it was very haphazardly placed and put in random spots where at times it did not fit. So the whole time I was, watching the redub and actually, remembering what I'm watching, I'm thinking, why are they using this song here? This doesn't fit this moment or whatever. And I went like that several times, and that doesn't stop the music itself from being good, but it's the placement at times that just felt off.
Actually, Maddie Blostin would agree with you. According to what the gossip said, she actually said that was the placement was a problem. So
right.
But does anyone else have anything on Mastermind or?
I was gonna mention like what Joshua and Jordan said about Nacho Chenny not being able to emote. No, that's like her major flaw in Sun and Moon, because Sun and Moon is a very expressive. Ash is very more expressive than he is in X and Y, Black and White, and all that. And that's the hard part of having Sarah Nacho Chenny as his voice actor, is because she can't really emote.
Emote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when she has to scream or, like, whoa,
Be surprised.
Anytime she has to be surprised or scream, at least back with, like, Mirage and early Battle Frontier, she could not really express that yelling properly. It was always very toned down, probably because I think they were trying to get her, to be Veronica, because there are points where she kind of sounds like Veronica, but she has to be, like, not emoting at all to sound remotely close to that kind of voice. And eventually they just kind of had to tell her, I think, that, okay, this isn't working because you basically cannot emote at all and change the voice. So just do whatever if you can emote at all. At least that's my perspective of it.
Yeah, that's how we got moments like Snorlax, no.
Oh god.
Here we go.
Wow. I mean, I don't think there's structure at all in this company where they're recording the voices and everything. I don't think they care.
Oh yeah, they do not.
Yeah, nowadays they
to let takes like that go. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how people will understand how the quality of dubbing an anime is supposed to be, because nowadays people are starting to give in and accept the voices and then grow to like them now, and there have existed elitists who would defend them and would not listen to any of our criticisms at all or opinions even.
Yeah.
Well, what I find awkward in that is while people have become complacent about the Pokemon dub, meanwhile there are also plenty of other people who swear up and down that plenty of other anime that have competent English dubs cannot dub properly and cannot have good voice acting, and you should always watch it in Japanese or whatever. Or the dub is always inferior.
Yeah.
And I just find that weird that we live in a world like that.
Yeah.
So did we finish talking about Mastermind? Or?
Yeah, we're pretty much.
And I'll say this.
Segueing into Battle Frontier.
And I'll say
I got one thing to add, but you guys can go first.
Yeah, I'll say. I was trying to say this. Adding on to Jonathan's point, it's gone to a point with this whole dub thing. Of this probably reiterate the end, but we'll say it now because it's on my mind right at this moment. It's gone to a point where people have literally grown up watching this dub, and people have become attached to it. Like a lot of us are attached to 4Kids cast. Me, I'm in an awkward position. I grew up with both. I'm more attached to the 4Kids cast myself, but there are those that are significantly younger than me, but all they know essentially is the 2006 and onward cast. So I feel like that is a big factor in what's going on with complacency and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I completely understand that there will be people who are nostalgic for those actors because that's what they grew up with, and I can't be mad at that, and I'm not. It's just when there are people who also grew up with the 4Kids cast and they either say get over it because your complaints aren't valid or you're nostalgia blind, which I just think aren't valid complaints.
Or you're Gen 1 or whatever.
Exactly.
Not a lot has changed, so.
On Match Run, I was just gonna add, there was also Misty saying "Hold the phone."
Oh yeah.
And Oak was saying Young was saying "classes in session," and that was only dub only.
Wow.
But on the redub, I didn't hear any real change. Brock was maybe a little less deep and gravelly, but he was still like I don't know what, phlegmatic. Like, it wasn't much emotion. And May still sounded too old. Ash is just his voice was a little better, but the delivery with the acting was even worse. Yeah, that's all I can say. I didn't hear much change otherwise.
It just ruined our experience, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the start of a dark time, which is still actually going on to this time.
Our dark times, man. Our dark times. Are we going to talk about Battle Frontier?
Yep.
Yeah. I'll start with yeah. So Battle Frontier. I'm just gonna start with everything but the acting, so we can get that out. So first of all, the music. So Lawrence Neve said, "Oh, they're gonna keep most of the Japanese music." The TPCi spokesman. No, that didn't happen. So they start out keeping less than 4Kids did in the first 7 seasons, and only more than in the 8th season. So they only keep 26% of Japanese music. So yeah, and in the first in season 9. So that's really great and sarcasm, but and the most they keep is 8.75 pieces. And that's lower than 4Kids did in 2 advanced episodes. So, in challenge episodes 9, 7, 27, 5, and 9. So, yeah, that's really, really that was a lie from the start. But it'll get much worse when we get to GGG. But
DGG.
Go far, go far, agreed. So.
Oh yeah.
How about we
talk
the
about
music situation did not improve at all at first. So yeah, you guys can go ahead on other stuff. I'll just starting with that. So go ahead.
How about we talk about some of the deliveries? I remember May saying this provocative line, "I've never seen Ash work it so hard."
Mm-hmm.
Oh my. Yeah, and I think we should actually comment on the actual voice acting itself, because this is actually the season, especially as we get later on, where at least I started to notice that Ash's voice started to change, started to deepen. And that's,
I agree.
And when I was watching it, I kind of just in my head, okay, maybe Ash is getting older or something. I don't know. I'd have to look at my old Poke community post about it. I think I just find sort of fanfic I wrote. I can't remember now. Don't look it up. I'm not telling you what my old username. I'm not gonna. If you are that crap crazy, I don't really want to. Batshit insane to say it. Then I'm to look for it. Then you go for it. But I'm not giving you any clues. There are parts of my internet life that I want to get rid of. Anyways,
I'm even more curious.
No. But anyways, for me, when I noticed it was definitely interesting. I remember the biggest thing that happened was, I think, so first this thing that apparently the music got less epic.
Less what?
Was acting to music, but apparently music got less epic for some reason. I just remember this one video, where they compare like 4Kids music to music of TPCi now. That might have been later, but that's just me bouncing around thought ideas about this time. But anyways, when I remember watching it, and again, voice was different. I accepted it then, and now it's cringy looking back.
Oh.
And I'm gonna be honest, this is voice-wise, Sarah Nanchani almost had it as Ash. Almost had it, but just her delivery was just really, really bad. It's funny how your mind doesn't always pay attention to details, and often as a kid, to it. How your mind doesn't always pay attention to details as a kid, because, gotta be honest, Ash was the only one I noticed, and James maybe, back then. But those are the only two voices I noticed that were being off. Maybe Meowth, but everyone else did pretty decently after impressions during this time. And it was just mainly like the acting and the deliveries and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned about the music earlier, because there's a video I like to share around called Never Watch Pokemon Dubbed. Forgot her name. Diantha and her Gardevoir and the Ash Greninja, and it compares the music, and it's just night and day. You can see the comparisons. In the Japanese version, you got this epic hard rock music going on, intense battle music, and then it goes to the English dub, and for some reason it's like a calm meadow music or something.
Ash's character has diminished to more like a gangster kind of, no, a hipster. He keeps talking like well, give me some examples, Jolteon. Do you know the stuff he says, like besides K instead of okay or whatever?
Yeah, he uses a lot of
slang.
Contractions and just random slang.
Wow, I'm psyched.
Oh, I'm so psyched. Now I'm really psyched. And I'm super psyched. I was so psyched. All right, hit it. I'm so stoked.
Well, I know did this a lot too. This is a problem that transitions to Diamond Pearl, and I know we're not there yet, but one line in particular is he says, "I'm not a noob." And
I'm not a noob.
Oh, wow.
It's just a very sort of, hey kids, you want to sound hip? You want to hear a hip show? And it's just, it does not work, and it certainly does not age well later on.
You might as well
like for Macarena.
Yeah.
Who?
So you might as well edit the Pokedex with the
Jerry did it at point.
I mean, the Rotom Dex has a camera, so it kind of already does.
Oh, let's see.
It reminds me of a completely unrelated dub, but there's this new show coming out called Mech Cards on this blog called Kids Click. I'm not going to explain, but apparently they had a line in there. I don't think it was in the Japanese, but it said, hang on, let me find it here. I'll find it quickly. Yep. We should all take a selfie. They literally said that in an anime dub.
That was said in the anime dub?
When was this?
This was not in Pokemon. This is in a completely different unrelated series called Mechard. So, I'm just saying, it's done other dubs before. And I'm also surprised that Pokemon hasn't done it. If someone
I'm surprised we haven't gone that low yet, actually.
Yep.
I'm so appalled.
Yeah, I was gonna say, okay, so I actually think even the voices themselves, not the acting, because the acting was just flat and unconvincing now for dear. But a lot of the voices actually sound closer to the Forward voices than they will later. So, I mean, like, what I want to say about Ash is, at first the voice was okay, but the acting was just flat and no Snorlax. Like, he's like bored to death. And then it gets all gravelly and deep, and it just, the rest of the season just, I'm Ash Ketchum. That. It's like really deep, and I don't know what. I thought the same thing as I thought the same thing as Connor at first. Like, that is he going to puberty or something? I thought he was aging or something. So.
Well, the thing is, if that were the case, he's been going through puberty for 12 seasons.
Legit, yeah. It doesn't. And with Brock, he was actually like closer to Eric Stewart than what happens later. I don't know where they thought he should keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and May is everywhere. Honestly, sometimes she sounds like 13, sometimes she sounds 25, sometimes she sounds okay. Nonsense is just not consistent. That's what I have to say. It's just not. Veronica Taylor, like after her first 10 episodes, she got her voice down. Actually, sound like a 10-year-old girl. But
I'll ask a rhetorical.
Nas could never just get it right for some reason. Like sometimes you'd sound okay, but sometimes you'd be way off.
I'll ask something rhetorical. Like, how would you all feel if the voices of Homer Simpson, Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny, or even the My Little Pony crew got replaced and did the same thing TPCi did, with imitations that try so hard but fail to capture the same charisma of the characters that 4Kids did with the old cast?
There'll be freaking riots.
Yeah, I mean, would there really be?
I mean, there was one for Pokemon, to be honest.
I mean, there were definitely, petitions and to some extent even a strike.
Like, I want to know how people do care about their show, because usually they get mad when you make such a change in their voices.
Right. Yeah. I would still be upset, but it would, for me, depend how would the replacements be. But I would still not like it. It's still not I don't like it when they just change it just for, I want to save money or something. But if the voice actors improve and grow in the roles, then it can be, accepted, even if it's not the best thing. But
yeah, like there are some exceptions. There was a voice actor in Full Metal Alchemist, Alphonse from the original, could not do Alphonse anymore, and that's why he couldn't do the one in Brotherhood.
Yeah, because they had gotten like an actual young boy, and he went through puberty, so they obviously couldn't get him back. But they got a decent sound-alike. It worked well enough.
Yeah.
And Aaron Disney came back to voice young Hohenheim.
So yeah, they didn't just toss him on the road. So they gave him something. So.
Yeah, and Connor was also giving examples of Dragon Ball shows.
Oh yeah, the whole franchise got a whole new cast, and over the past 20 years, they improved immensely to a point where they are better than their predecessors. And even within Funimation cast, there have been changes, like Stephanie Adoli to Colin Klinkenberg, which, depending on who you ask, Colin Klinkenberg did a better job. And Tiffany Ballmer to Monica Rial. And interesting enough, there's been some back and forth with Funimation within Funimation cast. So again, voice changes can be accepted if the voice actors actually improve, make something of the roles that weren't there before. Mm-hmm. Like Sean Schemmel changed at least in the US dub of Dragon Ball Z, Goku from this superhero. I mean, eventually he did this over time to what he was actually in Japan with, which was just this happy-go-lucky man-child who wants to fight.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's because Funimation actually took the criticism seriously, but TPCi is doing the opposite now, and they're falling into the same traps 4Kids did and doing some things even worse. But I mean, we'll get to that when we get to that. But so yeah, and as for Team Rocket and Battle Frontier, I'm just gonna say, I don't know if the script was better here than it was for anything after this, except the first Black and White season, because we didn't have all this non-stop alliteration, slang, dig it, until Diamond and Pearl stuff started. I'll get to Team Rocket on there, but James was honestly, I have never really liked Cathcart, if I'm being honest, as James. But at least my problem with him at first was it's nasally. You know, like this, at first it was okay. It's a little less goofy, but now it's nasal. So I mean, that wasn't exactly what I wanted James to sound like. And then Jesse was even higher pitched than before. Meowth is okay, but he sounds a bit like Gary at first. And that's what I think in Battle Frontier. The voice-wise, it was not as good as the Forkers cast, but some of them were okay, some of them were bad, more or less that. But the acting itself was really dull. That was the problem from everyone. Flat deliveries. Script-wise, did anyone go into that on Battle Frontier yet, or?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. I'm just gonna say this. I don't know if you guys brought it up. Sorry for interjecting. I just want to give basically a brief overview of it this weekend. But I hated this. I don't know if anyone else noticed this. I got me the spirit symbol. I got me the luck symbol. Why is he saying that? Like in the Four Kids of Ash never said I got me. He said, I just won this. And then they make him sound like a caveman. It annoyed me.
I think it's more of that weird slang that they're trying to pull to sound hip, and it doesn't work. It sounds silly. And I mean, yes, I know it's the Pokemon anime, but you can work better than that. Just speak like a normal human being, please.
Of course. Just because you feel that the show is intended for younger kids does not give you the right not to try.
Exactly.
And then there was Max said, I'm serious. This is actually a quote from the dub. Those fighting type Pokemon sure know how to fight.
Oh my god. You see, when I was a kid, I must have glossed over some of this shit when I was watching it. So I got a little bit of that good memories of this. But Pokemon, I must just pay attention to the exciting Pokemon battles when because I missed all that shit.
Alright, so yes, I understand Max isn't even 10, but he's supposed to be like the smart kid. So he should have, decent word structure.
It's in Wheel of Frontier. I'm serious. Go. I'm serious. I just did a double take when I heard that. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Not even a massive understatement is that even remotely funny. It destroyed his character. Wow, that got me.
And the other thing that got annoyed me at first was Ash. Okay, he can be cocky sometimes, but he's not an arrogant person all the time. And
I think that's something the TPCi dub really does not get when writing for him. Yes, he can be a bit of a cocky person who's a little, energetic and he's excited for things, but he's not arrogant every moment of his life.
Yeah, and there was a line like, I know that I'm gonna win it anyway. Like, it sounds like that, and then there's another one that, I swear I could even beat a hoe. And then he didn't say that in Japanese. They made him sound all cocky. He wasn't like that in the Four Kids stuff. He had moments where he'd be like, shut up or something, but he wasn't actually this arrogant.
Well, the other thing on that is you have to remember this was Ash when he was first starting out in Four Kids.
Right.
And, you expect a character to at least progress and understand, and I guess that would be a whole nother debate about whether Ash has progressed as a character or not, English or Japanese. But you don't have to write him script-wise like he's never progressed.
Yeah, it just makes it feel like it wasn't the same character. Even, not only was his voice completely different, but even his lines, it did not feel like the same person anymore with that dialogue,
Yeah.
That's all I have to say on Battle Frontier. it's a rocky start.
Rough start too.
Yeah.
The only really memorable thing I will say about it is the theme, and I think honestly, it is probably one of the last good themes of the.
I was actually going to mention that. I was going to say I think maybe the one good things that came out of this season was the theme was actually pretty okay. It wasn't.
Yeah, I was expecting worse. Honestly, it wasn't as good as the Four Pistons, but at least they were trying to capture the spirit.
Yeah, that was there. The essence of it was there. So I could give them credit for that. And, you could live through it. I don't think we can say the same for the start of the next season.
Oh my god, you guys are gonna...
Which brings us to Diamond and Pearl.
Well, I forgot one thing, my bad. Movie night, so let's talk about Ranger.
Right, I really don't think Movie 9 does anything much different from the Battle Frontier dub in general. You have the same.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you have the same pretty flat performances. You still have weird voices, even for new cast members like Phantom. Jack Walker was actually okay though, but I think he was one of the few voices I liked in that movie. There was also. There was some weird lines in that movie, and I wish I could remember them word for word right now, because I remember laughing so hard rewatching this movie. Like, not just because it's a very silly movie in general to me, but just the script was very weird, even by TPCi standards. And then you've just got more flat lines from some characters, like for Sarah, when Ash puts May in the little pod with Pikachu, and she says, "I have to put this back."
His voice is so deep by that point. Like, I have to put this back. Like, it's so deep. Like, what the?
It's like he's going from deep, but it's also still really flat, and there's very little emoting.
It ruined the moment for me personally. When I watched that movie, I was hoping if the 4Kids cast did this movie, but nope, it was TPCi. But I still wanted to see it just because that was my favorite. That's my favorite group with Ash, May, Max, and Brock, and I wanted to see this whole Manaphy story. So I liked the movie. It would have been better with the old cast. But yeah, that delivery it ruined the moment. The first time I ever see Ash and May have a moment where Ash saves her life, and then in case anything happens, he would have said, "Take care of Pikachu if I don't make it," And it's my favorite shipping moment. Just ruined. That's all.
Yeah, I'm sorry I keep butting in, guys. I'm just trying to add some stuff so we can. The one thing that, besides, there were two lines that Jolteon brought this up, but you must take great vitamins from Jack Walker.
Oh, yes. The whole Phantom vitamins joke. And
the reason that joke was put in was because it was in Japanese, it was a untranslatable pun.
Yeah, I was going to say it was a joke based on
Machop's
Japanese phonetics and with Machop's evolutions. And that really wouldn't translate well as a joke. So the vitamins joke is actually kind of one of those so bad it's funny jokes that I did laugh from that. Like, because it was just so stupid and out of nowhere. That was just like, I'll laugh at that.
Yeah. But the line that stood out of me. Yeah. That was the only line that I actually thought was clever. But what stood out to me was Ash saying "Let her rip." What? Like, did he ever say "Let her rip" before?
No.
What did he say?
Let her rip.
Let her rip. Oh.
Let her rip. Like with the ER, like let her rip.
Oh.
As if it were Beyblade.
Oh, I don't think he ever said that ever.
He says it again to XY, but that's another one of those radisms that I call it.
It's just one of those, weird I'm a totally hip character, guys. Line.
Yeah.
No.
And then we have Team Rocket with maybe we should pocket those Diamond and Pearl Jolteon brought up in our video.
I will never not just feel brain cells dying when I hear that line.
Okay, you'll never live this up. I know. All I can say is this is the last movie. This is the only movie I saw of TPCi before I, pun intended, jump ship. I jumped ship right on time to stop myself from seeing the rest of TPCi's horrendous work.
I would and wouldn't blame you, and I'll get to that with Diamond and Pearl.
The only good thing was this movie. I think Tommy knows the music best, so you kept 98% Japanese music, right?
Yeah, they only
replaced one track.
That they replaced the a cappella version of Spurt, and they put in an instrumental of "Together We'll Make a Promise."
Right.
All right. This is Filippo Depot. This is my little bit of contribution towards our recent roundtable discussion. I'll be just giving my thoughts on each individual section of the TPCi dub, what I think of them, and more or less, pros, cons, just anything that really comes to mind. All right. So starting off, I'll be talking about the Battle Frontier dub, which of course, as we know, was very short, and back in the day, it's probably like among the most controversial of just moments in the Pokemon anime, like internationally or ever, really, just because it was it was brand new with the whole voice actor switch, and the new cast really had some growing pains and a lot of straining to go through to start off with their voices, which for the most part, I do think that most of them did improve on over time, even as the season went on, with a couple exceptions here and there. I mean, in terms of the pros, I will say that to start off, I can actually appreciate the fact that at least a good chunk of the main cast towards the beginning really were doing their best to sound like the old 4Kids cast, like Sarah Natasheni. She, at the beginning, even though her voice was very, I guess, kind of scratchy, I don't know, it's not very good, personally. I don't think it's good, but you could tell that she was sort of trying to at least help fans ease in to the big change, because it's certainly a lot closer to Veronica Taylor's impression of Ash than any of Natasheni's later performances as the character. So starting off, I can appreciate that. Same with Will Rogers as Brock. He did sound the most like Brock's like Eric Stewart Brock towards the beginning of Battle Frontier. And I do genuinely think actually that that voice, and for a large part of that performance, was actually better than the rest of his tenure as Brock throughout the TPCi dub. I mean, that's just me. It's one of those cases where it did degrade. In terms of May and Max, legitimately, I don't really feel anything for them. They didn't change too much overall. May got a little more expressive, and I guess a bit with Max. But I think they were some of the biggest casualties of the voice actor switch, just because they had. I think they had really solid voice work going on behind them in the 4Kids dub. Didn't work out so much afterwards, but it's I don't know. In the case of May especially, she just seemed very generic after the switch. I don't know. It just wasn't good for those two. As for Team Rocket, we know these guys are very infamous among TPCi, non-fans, haters, bashers, whatever you want to call them. I don't know. For the longest time, I didn't really seem to mind them. They, any contempt I had against them and their performance more so came along later when I fully went against the dub completely. But back then, honestly, it was more so, I guess, the script involving them I would see still as the biggest issue. like the voices I could still get past, even if I think James Carter Cathcart's James is not really, it's not my cup of tea. It sounds very. It doesn't even like sound like it's trying to imitate the 4Kids voice, Eric Stewart's. At least with Meowth, I could kind of hear some resemblance, but again, it sort of offshoots into its own thing. They didn't really change too much during the entire run, honestly. Same with Jessie. Honestly, Jessie, I have the least problems with because, at least for the most part, she has the sound right. Maybe not so much the right enunciation and stressing how certain words are said. No, it's. I think Jesse sort of fared the best out of the whole voice actor switch, and like even with Battle Frontier, like I don't know. In the case of Team Rocket, they didn't really change too much for me personally over the years, and I was able to tolerate them for quite a while, even during this whole switch. So, it at least with back then, it wasn't as big an issue. I don't think. Well, moving away from like the voices side because that's controversial as it is, and I don't really need to dwell too much on it. I don't. In general, I don't think they were good, but I can appreciate some of the steps that they took. Moving on to the actual work of the season, it is very obvious that this season was rushed out just to get it done and over with quickly enough to get Diamond and Pearl out the door as well. So, in the cases of a lot of minor voice actors or even some of the Frontier brains, the voices are just. Well, not even just the voices, but like the acting is so bland. It just reeks of cheap, lower production values. Like I never recall like somewhere in the 4Kids dub it being this bad. And even later down in the TPCi dub, it only got this bad at certain points later on. But again, that's just a more or less. They had to cut costs and rush it out. It was sort of what they wanted to do. I can't really fault TPCi for wanting to get the series out and over with, especially since season breaks were a big issue with 4Kids back in the day, leaving episodes, airing more than a year after, overseas than after they were in Japan. That I can understand at least. It's just a shame that we did have like some legitimately quality content episodes, sort of suffer as a result of this rushing. If they did take their time, which I think in the long run would have been worth it, we could have really gotten a really solid dub, but well, yeah, it didn't really work out that way, did it? In terms of music, Battle Frontier is sort of a bit of a strange beast, and this goes on a little bit later on with the Diamond and Pearl's first season because, like, it it's this strange amalgamation of a little more Japanese music being kept, but it also keeps a lot of 4Kids music because this was Taj who took over production, but they still had like John Loeffler and a lot of other people, on production. So they still kept stuff like the Pokédex theme from AG, for example, as well, right? And they would even occasionally reuse, music from the movies, 1, 2, and 3, because, they had their own dub scores. In addition to brand new stuff made for Battle Frontier. It's all like, keep in mind, it's been like a few years since I've even seen a Battle Frontier episode dubbed, but even when I did, it was a very strange amalgamation. But also something to note, besides just the background music, because like at the end of the day, it was a mess. There wasn't as much as Japanese music kept as people were hoping. Yada yada yada. But Battle Frontier was like the last season where they had like original songs made for the episodes or even just the show. We had several of them. Like even in the second episode of the season, I believe it was Sweet Baby James. We had I don't even remember the song title, but you know what? That was it was fairly nice. But also like again, it does show that back in the day, at least Pokemon USA was trying to sort of ease it in a little bit by including original songs, which some of them did end up getting released afterwards, which, you can't really say much for the rest of the pre-GGG era in terms of its music. But no, it was kind of interesting to have those songs put in there. Like, like in hindsight, they didn't really relieve much impact like some of the earlier 4Kids songs were, because those got reused for years. But like, I don't know. Yeah, I thought they were an alright addition. There weren't really like too many bad ones that I can immediately recall. Like, I'm really tolerant with music as it is, so like, I don't really have an issue with like the vocal songs that were used in the season. Like, probably the biggest issue I have with the season's vocal songs is probably the opening Battle Frontier itself. Personally, like, I don't hate it, but especially coming out after something as epic as Advanced Battle, the song just sounds just so cheesy. And you clearly tell that TPCi, well, PUSA back then, was trying to get their little image of, oh, it's for kids out of the way, right? And I mean, like, the whole kids debate, we can get into that at another point, but it definitely represents a change in tone, moving from dub to dub. But yeah, otherwise, in terms of Battle Frontier, it worked out at the end of the day. Like, especially for a first season with an entirely new cast, it was going to be rough anyways. And of course, with them rushing it out, that's to be expected as well. Movie 9, you know what? I'd say that was handled well. Truthfully, like, again, I'm not the biggest fan of the voices back then, or just in general for them, but like the acting was all right. They kept most of the original score, that was good too. The ending song I actually kind of like as well for that. But other than that, it's not really too notable. Like, it's the big season of controversy, but in terms of how it was actually executed, besides the whole being rushed thing, I don't know. I wouldn't really say it holds up, but it's not really anything too offensive at the end of the day either. That would go towards Mastermind of Raj Pokemon, but that's technically a separate thing. But yeah, that's more or less what I think of the Battle Frontier dub. Me and my rambles.
Let's plug everyone's YouTube here.
Yeah.
If you can subscribe to Anthony Ford's channel on YouTube, and
the video.
Anthony, if you want to mention any of your videos or anything.
Yeah, I made compares on my channel recently. I did Pokemon voice compares with Ash, Misty, Brock, Jesse, James, Meowth, and like them and comment on them because I tell the truth about how the actors were over the years.
Totally.
Yep. So he has good analysis. So check out his thoughts. He explains everything in depth, what he thinks, and gives everything.
First off, I don't do any analysis on my channel, but I might start doing it on my other channel, but Blue Hawk Extras. For my main channel, I am a music person. I write my music. I do covers songs, and I've just subscribed to my channel there for like awesome covers of Beatles, Monkeys, etc., etc. So I hope see you guys there. It's on youtube.com/BlueHawkTV. Could have done a better plug, but it is late at night.
Mine is Johnny the Whiz Kid, and I'm a reviewer. I did my first review of Godzilla '98, defending the movie, the one that a lot of people disliked. And right now, there's a trailer of the new Godzilla King of the Monsters movie that's going to have the famous kaiju monsters around the world. And it looks very promising, but I still hold strong feelings to the '98 movie, just for personal reasons. But anyway, I'm still working on one of my reviews. I'm just struggling to do the editing, and I also want to review video games, but my channel is about reviews. So if you ever want to check them out in the future, I'll let you know when my reviews are coming up. So my YouTube channel is Johnny the Whiz Kid. It's Johnny with one N, and first letter is capitalized for every word.
All right, so I'm Jolteon Jordan. That's 2 words put together, Jolteon and Jordan spelled with an A. You can find me on YouTube where I do video game reviews. I also do editorial topics on certain video games, and I also did a video before Movie 20's dub came out about why it would not be a good choice to see. And those videos are a bit outdated, but I do plan to review Movie 20 at its core sometime in the future, as well as perhaps cover the dub and how it ended up in the end. And I would also like to cover movie 21 in the future, depending on how that goes as well. So if you're interested in video game content, Pokemon in general, I mostly review Nintendo Switch games right now, but I would like to get to Nintendo 3DS as well, and other platforms too. You can find me at Jolteon Jordan on YouTube, and you can also find my social media accounts on Twitter and Facebook. Both are just Jolteon Jordan, one word.
Awesome.
Okay. And my channel is PKM and Voice Compares YouTube. So that's about it for me. So.
Antoine, you got a YouTube?
Yeah. So subscribe to Antoine Kudo, Antoine Space Kudo. Over there, I do little cartoon animated reviews. I also talk about Pokemon stuff every so often. I'm planning to make a Pokemon Sun and Moon review, so coming soon. I'm gonna find a way to make it while trying to avoid ShowPro's little copyright system.
Ooh,
and yeah, so definitely subscribe.
All
Thanks
right,
so much.
No problem.
I guess the recording's done.
And I'll say this. Go back to movies. I mentioned that I only watched up to movie 6. Well, I think during his break, I might take a moment to watch movies 7 through 20. So, on that note, we're going to get out of here. It was nice talking to you guys. So
nice getting acquainted with all you guys.
Nice to talk to you too.
Guys. Yeah.
So until next time,
you're
see you guys later.
See you guys later.
See ya.
See ya.
Later.